Mike Buck here with AK Sled Shed, talking about pre-season prep for our machine, getting it ready to go so that everything's in top-notch shape. When we go out for the first time for the season, we don't have any issues or problems. First of all, super clean for getting rid of the really nasty stuff underneath the hood, the old belt dust and that sort of thing. Goo Gone for getting off some of the old alder pitch and that kind of stuff that gets on your cowling. And then after you've used those heavy cleaners, just this, I use this glass cleaner, which works great for kind of getting that residue of those cleaners off. And then I like the 303 protectant. It's like Armor All, but it's supposedly a little better product. And it protects from UV rays and that sort of thing. A little car wax for waxing the hood and getting the final pitch and that kind of stuff off of your plastic pieces and making them nice and shiny and protected. And then this stuff, True Oil, is used for redoing gun stocks, but I found out that you can rejuvenate your plastic using this oil. You know, the black plastic on my machine, you know, it gets kind of dingy looking and dull, and you rub that stuff on there and let it sit for about a half an hour, and then buff it off and use your 303 protectant after that, and it looks like new. And then a little silicone lube for lubing up all those moving parts that are underneath the suspension that you may not be able to grease with a grease gun. Any moving parts on the machine, it's nice to hit them with a little bit of silicone spray. Also, some of the electrical connectors, it's nice to put a little silicone spray on those so you don't get water or moisture in there and cause corrosion. And then anytime you unplug any of your electrical items, it's really good to put some dielectric grease on those. When you plug them back together, make sure you have good contact and no corrosion in there. Going to try to use all of our tools in our MacGyver kit that Chris Oles talked to us about. Make sure that we're not missing anything. We should have everything we need to do maintenance on a machine in our kit. Take a tape measure and measure behind your spindles and in front of the spindles to make sure that you have a proper toe out of about 1/8 of an inch. You're also going to want to check your handlebars. Make sure that your throttle is in the right position. Most aggressive mountain riders like them either in neutral position or slightly up a little bit. And then your brake slightly down a little bit so that you can be ready to operate that. So check the tightness on those and then make sure you have the right tools in your kit to fit those. So you're going to want to get into your clutch area, make sure you got a spare belt on there, make sure you got your clutch tool. Take your clutch guard off and check your belt deflection. And you want to do that by seeing if you can move that belt. It should move pretty difficult. If it moves easy, it's too loose and you may have to adjust it. Make sure you got those tools in your kit. You may notice I have the water bottle inside there, kind of a handy place to have a water bottle. Keeps it liquid most of the time, a little heat from the engine. And then check your coolant and your oil, make sure they're full and ready to go for the first ride. You want to check your chain case, pull your plug out, make sure there's no particles on there. There may be a little bit of shaving, small shavings are fine, but no chunks. And then you may need to change your chain case oil. You should do that once every 1,000 miles. And then this is my favorite spring tool, piece of paracord. It makes getting those springs on and off really easy and quick.
So normally during my preseason prep, I go a little deeper and I take the hood off and get into the area underneath the engine to clean all that up and everything. So anytime you take the hood off, you're unplugging a lot of electrical stuff. So anytime you pull off those plugs from any of your electrical equipment, you should take some dielectric grease and put on those connections, because those things will get corrosion build up from moisture and that sort of thing. So put a little dielectric grease on them before you plug them back together, and that will keep all that moisture out of there and corrosion from building up and causing you electrical problems. Once I plug them back together, then I usually like to take just a little bit of silicone WD-40 silicone lube and spray on those electrical connections around where those wires come together, and wipe them down and make sure that that prevents any of that moisture from getting in there and causing you problems in the future.
So I found a cool little trick for restoring plastic on your snow machine. True oil. So you take this, a little bit on a rag, just takes a dab, and rub it in on your plastic. You don't need too much, it goes a long ways. And you let it dry for about a half an hour, and then buff it off. And after you buff it off and it's all dry, you can put a little 303 or Armor All on it, and it's pretty amazing how good it looks. My four-wheeler, the plastic on it, it's a red four-wheeler, and it turned almost white, and it really looks good now. So I tried it on the snow machine, and same results. It works great.
So check your track tension and alignment. You may have to loosen the back axle and then adjust the adjuster screws. If it needs tensioned up, make them even on both sides. And then you want to measure from the clip to the slide rail on both sides to make sure they're even, so that you don't have any issues with it being out of alignment. And then check all your bolts on the rear suspension, make sure everything's tight, and make sure you have all the wrenches that fit all the different sizes. There's quite a few different sizes underneath the rear suspension, so you want to make sure you have them all. Spin the bogey wheels, make sure they are not dry. If you can hear it kind of rattling around, you may need to replace bearings, but spin those, they should be pretty darn quiet. And then all the moving parts that you can't grease, take a little WD-40 silicone lube and spray all those moving parts underneath the suspension. I like to check the springs, make sure those are in good shape. I usually put a little lube on those as well, where they rub against the plastic. All the bolts, just to make sure they don't get so rusted up that you can't ever get them out. Then go ahead and lubricate up all the moving parts on the front suspension. Make sure they're good to go. And then a little wax to make it look pretty. And you should be ready for your first ride.
Well, thanks everybody for watching. Hopefully some of those hints might be helpful for you. So don't forget, subscribe, like, and share. Thanks.